Hello, my name is Justine Kincaid. Welcome to this introductory video of Instructional System Development for the United States Air Force School of Aerospace Medicine, or better known as USAF-SAM. Our mission here at USAF-SAM is to optimize and sustain airmen health and performance through world-class education, expert consultation, and operationally focused research. Coming into the role of a curriculum developer, you play a large role in the development and delivery of world-class education. We contribute to this part of the mission by developing the best course material that we can. So you made it through basic instructor school, completed your internship, and now your section is trusting you to develop curriculum. It can be kind of a scary thought, right? It's not that scary because we will give you all the skills that we can to set you up for success. You may find yourself why the Air Force chose ADDIE as its model to develop curriculum. Let me give you a brief history lesson on ADDIE. ADDIE came about with the development of the Cold War after World War II as the United States military struggled with itself to find a way to create more effective training programs for increasingly complex subjects. The result of this struggle for increased effectiveness bore fruit in the form of Instructional System Design, or ISD, which in turn led to the design model that are in use today. Learning ADDIE as an ISD process will give you the tools you need to develop effective training for your students and your entire career field. Our goal with today's lesson is to understand what ISD is and what the ADDIE process is. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to, without references, identify the basic facts of the ISD process within a 70% accuracy. We'll talk about the definitions of ISD, the goal of ISD, the functions of the ISD process, and the phases of ISD.
Instructional System Development, or ISD, is the official Air Force process for developing education and training for Air Force personnel. ISD is defined by Air Force Manual 36-2234 as a flexible process that is used to analyze, design, develop, and implement training in the most effective and cost-efficient way. Using the ISD process will make certain that there is a training need and that personnel are taught skills, knowledge, and attitudes essential for successful job performance. The illustration you see here provides an overview of ISD. ISD is comprised of functions as you see on the outer ring. Those functions, which we'll go into more depth later, represent people and their roles in ISD. The interior ring includes the phases of ISD. So go ahead here and take a moment to pause and familiarize yourself with this illustration and come back to it as you need to throughout this video.
The overall goal of the instructional system development process is it increases the effectiveness of the training, it will accurately identify the training requirements, and the big thing, of course, always comes down to money, so it reduces the overall training costs.
Understanding the definition and the goals of ISD is imperative to understanding what the functions of the ISD process is. The functions are comprised of management, support, administration, delivery, and evaluation. A quick way to summarize the functions is the functions are people or roles in the ISD process. Management is the function of directing or controlling instructional system development and operations. This function is filled by the people in charge. Support is the function of maintaining all parts of the system. Support can be the IT guys who keep our computers running and the internet available to the students. Administration is the function of the day-to-day processing and record keeping. A good example of an administrative function would be the registrar. Delivery is the function of bringing instruction to the students. This function is easily represented by the instructor. Evaluation is the function of gathering feedback data through formative, summative, and operational evaluation to assess system and student performance. This function can be filled by both instructor in testing and the academic evaluation division in sending out critiques and surveys. Now that we have talked about the definition, goals, and functions of the ISD process, let's discuss the phases. There are 5 phases of ISD that we will discuss: analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. The first phase is analysis. What this phase is really responsible for figuring out is what to teach and how to teach it. In courses that tie the content directly to preparing a student to do a job, the instructional developer analyzes the job performance requirements and develops a task list. The developer then analyzes the job tasks and compares them with the skills, knowledge, and abilities of the incoming students. The difference between what they already know and can do and what the job requires them to know and be able to do determines what instruction is necessary. The activities of formative evaluation begin here. Next is the design phase. The instructional developer develops a detailed plan of instruction, which includes selecting the instructional methods and media and determining the instructional strategies. Existing instructional materials are reviewed during this phase to determine their applicability to the specific instructions under development. In this phase, the developers also develop the instructional objectives and test questions and design instruction. The implementation plan for the instructional system is developed in this phase, and a training information management system is designed, if required. Formative evaluation activities continue in this phase. The next phase is the development phase. This is where all of your hard work pays off and you get to start developing. In this phase, you will develop instructional materials to support system requirements, develop student and instructor lesson materials, develop media that was selected during your design phase, update implementation plan, validate each unit/module of instruction and associated material as developed and correct as necessary. Next up would be the implementation phase. Implement instructional system. The instructional system is fielded under actual conditions. And last but not least is evaluation. Evaluation is continuous. It really starts during the first phase of analyze or analysis and continues through the life cycle of the entire ISD process. Evaluation focuses on 4 questions. Did learning take place? Were students' attitudes affected by their learning? Did a change in behavior take place? And did the learning cause the student to become more efficient and effective? Now that we have covered the phases, I want you to pause and think about an issue that you have come across with the materials or the way a course was taught in the past, and think about how you would apply the ADDIE model as an instructor after the material's already been developed. How could you improve or prevent that issue in future instances if you use the ADDIE model? Before you take a moment, I will give you an example. I was teaching a course and a block had a very high failure rate. We evaluated the test for high miss and that yielded no results, so we analyzed the block. We sat in the back of the classroom as a student and attempted to figure out what the issue was. Aha! It wasn't written very logical for someone who did not already have experience in the career field. So we redesigned it, we developed it, and we implemented it. During the implementation phase, we evaluated it by validating it. Once we validated it, we evaluated it again with student tests and feedback. We corrected the high failure rate and started the process all over again because ADDIE is a continuous process. So that is my example. Now take a moment, pause the video, and just imagine a class that you have taught where the material is subpar. Like I said earlier, using the ADDIE process, how would you make it better? And what step of ADDIE would you be using as you attempted to improve your course?
ISD is a process that will help you develop the most effective and cost-efficient material for your career field and will train members to do their job to support the Air Force mission. While this job can seem tedious, the impact of poorly designed curriculum can be large. You will play an important role in ensuring that the students coming into your career field receive quality materials to enable them to learn in the most effective manner possible so that we can keep fighting the bad guys.